I just got an SQ Lab saddle for my mountain bike and I am eager to try it. First ride on the new saddle here, and I am doing a climb of about 2,500 feet up to hit a Whistler classic called Dark Crystal. If you've been to Whistler and you've ridden Dark Crystal, let me know in the comments. What do you think of it? I think it's an awesome trail. It's one that I love going up to and getting on, and I'm fortunate enough to live right there half of the year. The saddle that I got specifically is the SQ Labs 611 ErgoWave Active 2.1. That name is a mouthful to say, but to my understanding, that is their mountain bike specific saddle, and the Active represents some functionality in the design that allows the saddle to flex a little bit on each side as you pedal. I'm excited to try this saddle because I've recently been dealing with a lot of discomfort in the perineum area, coming on very, very early into my rides. Say maybe 30 minutes into the rides, I'm feeling pretty discomfort. And by 45 minutes of seated riding and climbing, I'm feeling very, very, very uncomfortable to the point where I want to stand up and kind of let things rejuvenate and let everything reflow. And that is just not good at all. It is not good to be riding in discomfort. I'm sure that is not good for that area down there overall, if you get what I'm saying. But also, I personally want to be able to ride and climb longer and further without any discomfort. I feel like right now, my biggest constraint in riding further and longer is not my fitness level, right? My times and my speed and my power output and my endurance, all that is actually very, very, very good. My problem is I am simply just not comfortable in the saddle. For sizing, I used the free sizing kit that they send out, which is really just a piece of cardboard with a little printed tape measure. And that told me that I had sit bones about 11 centimeters apart. And doing their math, they said do 2 to 3 centimeters depending on which type of mountain bike you're riding. Less, so like 2 centimeters if you're doing more cross country, 3 centimeters if you're doing more enduro style riding. I do a little bit of both. I do some pretty long enduro style riding at a pretty aggressive uphill pace, and I really don't like stopping. So I wasn't sure which way to go, but all things considered, I've never had a problem with a saddle being too wide. So I erred on the wider side of that measurement and went with a 14 centimeter wide saddle. And I think that weighs about 237 grams. That is a Selle Italia Max Superflow. I think that is the correct name of it. I've been using it for about 5 years, and I settled on that after trying a handful of saddles and feeling like that one, well, felt the best. And I think I used to be able to ride longer without any discomfort on that saddle, but recently either A, that saddle has worn out, which may be the case. It still feels overall pretty good and like it did new. When I squeeze it, I really don't feel anything different. I don't feel like it's old and worn out. Or maybe something has just changed anatomically. I think I'm saying that correctly. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. If you know, let me know in the comments. But something in my body has changed, and therefore I just no longer fit that saddle the way I used to. So yeah, I'd really like to be able to ride, say, 2 hours without any discomfort. And that's what I would really like to be able to achieve. I know people ride 6, 12 hours at a time, and they claim that they don't have any discomfort. I don't know what their magic sauce is. I don't know how they're built down there or what's going on, but that just ain't me. 2 hours with no discomfort would be great. And I have to say, in my whole 15 plus year career of mountain biking at this point, I'm 35. I started riding when I was like 17 or 18. So almost 20 years. I've never felt comfortable beyond 2 hours on the bike. And I think that's a little unfortunate. I'd like to be able to do a lot longer rides. So I'm hopeful and optimistic for what this SQ Lab saddle can do. This climb is about 2,500 feet. And depending on how motivated I'm feeling, it takes me somewhere between 45 minutes if I'm feeling really aggressive, and say an hour and 15 minutes if I'm just kind of casually riding along. But regardless of the time, I do feel quite discomfortable, I will say, on this climb. So, typically, I feel quite discomfortable in the taint on this climb. So we'll see how the SQ Lab saddle does here. Now, I have been in the saddle for a few minutes, so I have some impressions. I have climbed probably about 200 feet so far. And, well, I guess two things really stand out, right, as first impressions in the first couple minutes. First is I do feel more comfortable in it. Like if I just kind of let myself sink into the saddle as I would, you know, in a long climb when I'm starting to get fatigued, I feel more comfortable. That's number one, so that's good. Number two is the step design. Now, when I was looking at it before I got on the saddle, I'm like, that just kind of looks a little funky, right? And I thought it would feel funky underneath of me or on my backside. But once I'm actually seated in the saddle, it feels really good. It feels natural. It doesn't feel like what it looks like. And I think there's a third thing, and that is I feel pressure from this on a different part of my sit bones. So I'm sitting in it differently than I am other saddles. For now though, I'm gonna keep climbing. Those of you that have done this ride will recognize where I am. I'm about 2/3 of the way up the climb. Just came out of the trail, and microclimate, the start of the trail microclimate, is right behind me. So usually when I get here, not usually, but by the time I get here, I am pretty uncomfortable and am looking forward to standing up, kind of revitalizing myself from the saddle when I get here onto this service road. But at the moment, I'm feeling pretty good. I made it up that climb in 1 hour and 20 seconds. But the important part is, how do I feel down there? And, well, you can probably tell that from watching all of the other little video clips climbing up. Feeling pretty good. As I got further up that last segment, which was kind of mild grade for a service road, I did start getting a little bit of discomfort, right? So I felt the discomfort coming on, but overall, it was not nearly as discomforting as it was in my prior saddle, and it was not nearly at the level, right? So in the last, let's just say with my last saddle, by the time I did that climb, I would be at a discomfort level of 6 or 7 at the end. With this one, I'm at a discomfort level of 1 or 2. So I'd say that is a pretty good improvement, a big step in the right direction. Now, no, that's not going to let me start doing 12-hour races, but that will let me climb, let's just say, well, a lot longer, more comfortably, right? Before I would try to cap my climbs at about 1 hour, right? I know how much I can climb in 1 hour, and I can climb a pretty good amount in 1 hour. I'm a pretty fit dude, and I've got a lot of experience riding or climbing. I don't really know how to say this, but I can get uphill pretty quick. So in 1 hour, I could cover a lot of ground, but by that time, I was pretty uncomfortable and really ready to descend. I think now I can climb for 1 hour without really any discomfort, and maybe even a fair bit longer in the saddle. Overall, I am very happy with the saddle so far, and I plan on keeping it. I do not plan on taking advantage of the SQ Labs return policy. But going forward, I think there's a couple things I might try to see if I can find even more comfort. First thing would be tilting the nose of the saddle down a little bit. I don't know if that would do anything or not, but I'm going to try that. When I first put the saddle on the bike, I followed SQ Labs guidelines of keeping the nose level. Now, I didn't have an actual level. I was just eyeballing it as best as I could. So I started there. And with that, I may try some different bibs or shorts, and also try without bibs and shorts. And I think that would probably be the first place to start, is without any bibs or shorts, just a thin pair of athletic shorts, which occasionally I do ride in. and see if maybe I feel better without that, better without anything, you know, compressing down there in the taint area, or anything padding, you know, and changing how my body interacts with the saddle. And then beyond that, maybe trying some of the SQ Labs bibs or shorts. I'm not exactly sure what their product line is, but I think that they do make, you know, cycling shorts, essentially, whether they're bibs or shorts, that have some of their technology and research and development into them. So based on my experience with the saddle, I would be keen to try those as well. On that note, guys, if you've got an SQ Lab saddle or you're planning on getting one, let me know in the comments below. I hope you found this video helpful and insightful, and if you did, you know the drill. Smash that like button to help me out in the YouTube algorithm. I am calling it a wrap and signing off on that note. It is a few days since I did that initial ride with the SQ Lab saddle, and I've done a handful of rides in between then, been riding pretty much every day. But today I went back out and hit that same loop again, Dark Crystal, and since that initial ride, I tilted my saddle forward a little bit, and I'm not riding with any bib shorts. I'm actually just riding in some running shorts, and I have to say it feels better. So yeah, the more I ride this saddle, or the more that I have ridden this saddle, the better overall it feels and the happier I am with it. So overall, very happy with the SQ Lab saddle, and yes, it is letting me ride further more comfortably.